Hello, people. It's open all day Wednesday. Isn't it just? Welcome to the last of my lecture series. You can see Gus in the back. You've probably all met Gus this semester. What do we got here? 18 people out of 50. Me. This last lecture, we've got two topics to cover. One is deliriant hallucinogens, which are not at all fun from what I hear. And the other is stimulant hallucinogens, which from what I hear are very fun, but I've never done them. So I guess with no more ado, let's go ahead and get started on this. Bum, 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 bum. Any Harry Potter fans out there? Professor Sprout, the herbologist. I'm just rearranging my screen here. Sorry, I'll just be a second, I hope. Just want to make it so that you guys can see the PowerPoints while I can still see my notes. And I cannot see my notes. Okay, it can be fixed, I believe. Okay. Oh. Clients, dependents. Where am I? There we go. Okay. And video. Hang on a sec. Hang on. Oh, is that it? No. I have to record this. Let's record why I'm not able to record. I don't know if I'm going to be able to record this one. Oh, it is recording. Okay, well, that's good. All right, so starting off with our anticholinergics. These are deliriant, they're called deliriant hallucinogens because they cause delirium. We'll talk about that as one of its things. These are all natural products. Jimson weed is a plant you can find growing wild around here. And if you wait till the flower goes into seed pod, you can get the drug from the seed pods or from the leaves or any part of the plant, really. Mandrake root. Mandrake root is what they were talking about up here in Harry Potter. That's what this guy is, the mandrake root. And they have the shape of a human being, which is kind of weird, and which is why they have got a lot of lore attached to them. And then you've got your belladonna. Belladonna, because they used to make a tincture out of this plant, and you would put it in your eyes, and it would make your pupils dilate. And the idea was, a woman would do that when she was going to a party. Her pupils would dilate and it would make her look more attractive, because that's a cue that you're attracted to someone is your sympathetic nervous system gets kicked in and your pupils dilate, and that makes you more attractive. So women would do that, but the problem with it is it also changes your ability to focus. So, they couldn't see very well when they did it. But belladonna means pretty lady. You're a real pretty lady. Okay, ancient medicine. This is where Professor Sprout comes in. If you remember from the movie, if you saw the movie, Professor Sprout pulls out the mandrake root and it screams, "Ee!" Well, this is kind of lore. How do you dig up a mandrake root? Well, if you hear the scream, it'll kill you. So what you do is you dig a furrow around it so it's almost out. Then you tie a dog to it, after which the person tying the dog must get away. The dog endeavors to follow him and so easily pulls up the root, and it dies instead of the master. After this, the root can be handled without fear. So this is how you get a mandrake root and lose a dog. I don't know if it actually works. Somehow I doubt it. Okay. We have a question in the chat here. Stephen McCain, what's up in the chat box now? I can't read the chat box.
Someone just said poor puppy.
Poor puppy. Yeah. Some dogs got it coming though. Not many though. Dogs are great. Okay. Anticholinergic drugs. They block muscarinic acetylcholine receptors. Now, we haven't talked about these very much. They're involved in the RAS system, and they're also involved in your occipital lobe for vision, and they're involved in controlling your thalamus as well. We'll talk about that today and why that's important. They come from plants like Jimson weed, belladonna, mandrake root. The drugs in these plants are all the same. They're atropine and scopolamine. Atropine is the main one. It is the one with psychoactive effects. Scopolamine is more polar. It doesn't really cross the blood-brain barrier. If you've ever had one of these seasickness things, they have like strips of, it's like a transdermal patch of scopolamine. You put it behind your ear and it helps to settle your stomach so you don't get seasick. That's one of the more common medicinal uses of the drug. They've been used for centuries as poisons and as drugs. You know, low dose, you get a mild, makes you tired at low dose. So it's used as a sleep aid. But, you know, back in the day, they didn't have too many drugs, and this obviously did something. So they used it for whatever they could. Also, it's a poison, so high enough dose will kill you. So it was used as a poison as well, you know, centuries ago. What to say about it other than that? Okay, so it causes a state of mental confusion, and that's why they call them deliriums. A loss of control of normal cognitive networks, your TPND in default mode, you lose control of those, and you just become kind of delirious. They tend to be taken orally, but they can be smoked. Like I said, the seeds from the seed pod, sometimes people will smoke that. Typically, when people try this, they only try it once or twice because it's pretty nasty. The side effects are really nasty. And the side effects are nasty. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. Mechanisms of action wise, we've got 3 different mechanisms of action of muscarinic receptors, and then these things are antagonists, so they're going to block these muscarinic receptors. So in the brain, and we've seen all of these mechanisms before. The one where it inhibits cyclic AMP, so the muscarinic receptor activates GI, which then inhibits adenyl cyclase, so you get a decrease in cyclic AMP. Activation of potassium channels, which produces an IPSP. And we saw this Monday in our lecture on serotonin-like psychedelics, activates phospholipase C, which increases calcium entry. So that's similar to the hydroxytryptamine 5-2A receptors. So here are your mechanisms. This is the inhibition of cyclic AMP. So that blocks other receptors from activating cyclic AMP. And then we've got direct activation of a potassium channel to give you an IPSP. And here's the phospholipase C mechanism we saw on Monday. So the muscarinic receptor then activates a different G protein. This is our third, which then activates phospholipase C. You get breakdown of a phospholipid into diacylglycerol, which activates protein kinase C, phosphorylates a channel, and you get more calcium coming in. So this is the normal mechanism, but then these drugs are going to block these mechanisms. Okay, so locations. So there's 2 main, it breaks down into peripheral versus central effects with these drugs. Peripherally, which means not in your brain, the rest of your body, these things are called parasympatholytic, which means they stop your parasympathetic nervous system. So going way back to chapter 2, I believe, we talked about the central nervous system. No, chapter 4. So your peripheral nervous system has got your motor neurons, and it also has the autonomic neurons. And the autonomic has got the sympathetic system, which is fight or flight, and the parasympathetic system, which is rest and digest. So this is that rest and digest system. It's going to block that. So it's parasympathetic. So if you're blocking the parasympathetic system, it's as if you're stimulating the sympathetic nervous system. So it's stimulatory for your body in a lot of weird and difficult ways. It's going to increase your heart rate and blood pressure, cause constipation, make it hard to urinate, make your eyes dry, your mouth dry, your skin gets hot and dry, your body temperature will increase, pupils get dilated, your vision blurred. So those are the side effects, and that's usually why people don't use this drug more than once or twice, because it's very uncomfortable. Central effects, though, it's excitatory. So like I said, it acts in your RAS releases norepinephrine. We've said that before, but kind of the opposite of norepinephrine is acetylcholine. So we're blocking the acetylcholine effect in the brain. So we're getting stimulation or arousal here. So the antagonist of that will cause drowsiness and sedation. So I said that wrong. I'm sorry, I got that wrong. So the RAS releases norepinephrine, but it also releases acetylcholine in some places. And they both cause stimulation. So if you block the acetylcholine effect, you get drowsiness and sedation. So, there are a lot of over-the-counter sleep aids, diphenhydramine, dimenhydramine. They are basically antihistamines. Your Benadryl. Benadryl is the classic one. That's diphenhydramine. And that will make you go to sleep pretty easily. And the reason for that is it's an antihistamine, but it also blocks muscarinic receptors. So that's the same as what we're seeing here. So atropine is blocking the muscarinic receptors, and that's causing drowsiness. In the striatum, we're getting excitatory effects, and we're inhibiting the thalamus. Okay, so 2 main effects I want you to remember here. One is the effect on the occipital lobe. You're getting stimulation in the occipital lobe. So similar to what we saw with psychedelics, with the psychedelics, you get direct stimulation of the occipital lobe, which causes color changes and shape changes and things like that. So you're getting hallucinations with this because of that direct stimulation in the occipital lobe. And the other thing I want you to remember is the delirium aspect to it. You get kind of crazy. And the reason for that is what's going on the PowerPoint here. And let me explain this with a different share. I made an animation of this that hopefully is going to make it more clear. So this is figure 11.9. Okay, so first we'll talk about what happens normally. So normally you get a whole bunch of sensory information coming into your body all at once, right? And I said this back in chapter 4, the job of the thalamus is to filter that. So you're not overwhelmed by all the stimulation coming in. So it's only letting the important things through. Now, the way that happens, the way that filtering process happens is your consciousness, all this information comes up to your prefrontal cortex, and then you get this reflex loop coming back to the striatum. And then here you've got acetylcholine being released on muscarinic receptors. And now your muscarinic receptors will then inhibit will send these GABA neuron over to the thalamus and inhibit the thalamus. So this is what causes filtering, this reflex loop, and then the GABA release here, GABA being inhibitory, that inhibits the thalamus, and that causes filtering to happen. This isn't the animation I wanted. This is not an animation. I do have an animation, and I would like you to see it. Bum, ba, ba, bum. Bum, ba, ba, bum. Bum, ba, ba, bum. Bum, ba, bum. Bum, ba, ba, bum. Here it is, 11:19. Why is this not an animation? All right. I will not be defeated by my own computer. I will find this. Man, being defeated by my own computer. You said you wouldn't do this. Okay, Stefan, I'm going to turn this animation on. Can you see this animation happening, Stefan?
Yeah.
Okay, so watch this. Here's all the stimulation coming in. The inhibitory loop is cutting it back to just a little bit. So it's inhibiting the information so that you're only getting what you need. And remember, we talked about this before, you know, when you're driving down the highway, you're really not paying attention to what's going on, and all that stimulation is coming into your brain. Your thalamus is cutting it off because it's not that important. And then this antimuscarinic, this atropine, is going to block here. So you're no longer going to get stimulation of this inhibitory thing. So what happens is all this stimulation comes into your brain directly, and now your brain gets overwhelmed by all the stimulus. So that's a long way to go around to tell you what it says in your notes here. So let me just read it from your notes. So so the delirium mechanism, then, your thalamus filters stimuli, so it's screening out most stuff, and only important things go through your prefrontal cortex. And that's because GABAergic neurons are, from the striatum, are tonically inhibiting that thalamus. Acetylcholine neurons stimulate the GABA neurons, so you've got that loop from your prefrontal cortex down to your striatum over to your thalamus, inhibiting it. And the antimuscarinics are going to block that stimulation of the GABA neurons. So we're inhibiting the inhibitor again, and that decreases the filtering in the thalamus, and all this sensory information goes into your brain. You just kind of get overwhelmed by everything. So that's why these are called deliriums, because they cause delirium through this thalamic mechanism. And then you also get the hallucinations, like I said before, with the occipital lobe. Okay, dependence and tolerance. These are usually not abused because the peripheral side effects are pretty bad. It's something to keep in mind, this particular series of drugs, because people do this every now and then you know, you can kill yourself with this. But if the doctor knows what it was you did, it's easy to counter. It's easy to fix the problem, but you have to know what it was that caused the problem. Okay, so that's about all there is to these delirium hallucinogens. They're not that interesting. And then the last drugs we're going to talk about are the stimulant hallucinogens. So this is kind of a GIF rave culture, a 90s thing that I did not participate in, unfortunately. Okay, so two different drugs fall into this class, and they have very different mechanism of action, kind of different effects too, except they're somewhat similar, so we put them together. But we've got MDMA or mescaline, I'm sorry, MDMA or ecstasy, and then also mescaline. So MDMA is a designer drug. It's basically, you know, like I've said this several times, like people take the structure of like norepinephrine and add different groups in different places to see what it does. And there are a whole slew of these things. I only talk about MDMA here, but there's MDM, MDOM. If you look it up in the dictionary or in the Wikipedia, designer drugs, there's tons of them. And the reason is you can't make a mechanism of action illegal in this country. You can only make a specific chemical structure illegal. So they'll make these things in clandestine labs, and it's like they're not illegal. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing illegal about using them. So there's a lot of these types of things that get out there. And a lot of times, this is why, you know, when you go to the stores and they have like bath salts or whatever, that's the kind of stuff you're getting. It's like these crazy chemicals that someone came up with. But the most popular one is this MDMA. And this one is illegal, so you can't get this. And the thing is, it's kind of like both an amphetamine and a hallucinogen at the same time. And then add on top of that, you're getting all serotonin effects. So not just the hallucination effects, but everything that serotonin does. So you're getting some more interesting and different effects. Now, mescaline then is a natural product, comes from peyote buttons. Peyote is a cactus that's found in Mexico in the Southwest. And it is a direct agonist of these receptors. So while MDMA is similar to an amphetamine mechanism where it's changing the release of neurotransmitters, this is directly activating the receptors. And these are both entheogenic, which is just like your 5-HT2A agonist, the psychedelics, in that it's a spiritual kind of a thing. At least mescaline is, and less so the MDMA. MDMA is more of a sex thing, I think. Just kidding. Okay, so MDMA is synthesized. Okay, not a natural product, so you would get it in terms of a pill. So they make these pills in labs, usually in Southeast Asia or something, and they'll be different colors and they'll put a different stamp on it. And the thing about the stamp is the same stamp will be used by one lab. So if you've got this pill and it worked out well for you, you're going to be looking for that pill again somewhere, because with a lot of the street MDMA, some of them don't even have MDMA in them. Am I sharing the right screen here? Yes, I am. Okay. Some of them don't even have MDMA in them. They've got like caffeine and crystal meth and a bunch of different things. So it's a little bit unsure what you're getting when you get something like that. And here's why they do what they do. They're structurally very similar to norepinephrine. Here's your norepinephrine, and I've kind of yellowed out the structure that's in common to all of them. You can see here the same norepinephrine structure here, but then you've got this guy over here and these two methyl groups thrown on. This is mescaline, again, very norepinephrine-like, but then you've got these methoxy groups stuck over here. Okay, so, and you can see how similar these structures are. And if you saw the other ones, the MDA, MDM, DOM, you'd see again the norepinephrine structure with different constituents added in different places to give you somewhat different effects. So remember, in your brain, you've got these amine receptors, and your amine receptors are or your main ones are norepinephrine, dopamine, and serotonin. So when you take these neurotransmitters and change them a little bit, you're going to hit all those receptors at different affinities and at different doses. So, these designer drugs can all have different types of effects depending on which of those receptors they're hitting more than others. So your mechanism of action then of MDMA, very similar to amphetamines, except more serotonin than anything else. So mainly your serotonin reuptake is going to be blocked and then reversed. So you're dumping serotonin out. And also some norepinephrine, a little bit of dopamine. So it's kind of like like that. It's like mostly a serotonin effect, but also some stimulation from the norepinephrine and a little bit of euphoria from the from the dopamine. These tend not to be that addictive because the serotonin gets really depleted from your brain pretty quickly. So, you know, within a very short period of time, you know, if you use it a couple days in a row, you don't have any serotonin left, so it doesn't work anymore. And it takes weeks for that serotonin to be reestablished. So people use it once and they're okay, but you shouldn't, you know, chronically use this because it stops working and it can cause a lot of damage to your brain. So that's your MDMA. And it is an empathogen and entactogen. So empathogen, the reason it's called an empathogen, it makes you empathetic. It makes you like other people. It makes you feel close to other people. And that's because of oxytocin, which is being released. So oxytocin is a hormone that's released by your hypothalamus to create bonding between people. When you hug someone, you feel good. That's oxytocin being released in your brain. When a mother nurses her child, oxytocin is released and it causes bonding between mother and child. So it's a bonding hormone and it brings you closer to other people. So you don't get this with psychedelics because they're all 5-HT2A, but this MDMA releases serotonin everywhere. So it also is, so you get effects at these 5-HT1A, which are found in the hypothalamus, and you get oxytocin release there for that reason. So it decreases defensiveness, fear, and aggression, makes you love everybody. I've got an animation I'll show you in a minute that's kind of funny. You also get the stimulant effect, norepinephrine, right? Increased physical activity. Kind of the classic thing is the 90s rave thing where, you know, everyone's dancing, everyone's having a great time. It's sympathomimetic because the norepinephrine, your heart rate's up, your blood pressure is up. One downside though is it makes you lose control of your body temperature. That's also related to your hypothalamus, so you kind of lose control of your body temperature, and that's a dangerous side effect that we'll talk about shortly. Oops. Slight sensory distortion because you're getting serotonin everywhere, including at your 5-HT2A receptors. So again, I said I've never done this drug, but what I hear is like you see those trailing images behind your hand. So as your hand moves, you can see a trail of it behind, and colors are more exciting or whatever. So anyway, I don't know if you guys know Family Guy. I haven't watched this in a long time, but these guys are great. So this is like the best thing I've ever seen about MDMA. Let's watch this.
Brian, your fur is so soft. Your ears are like dog ears. Oh, this couch. Stewie, your head is so smooth. How you doing that? Oh, everything here is fantastic. These clothes.
Okay, I apologize for subjecting you to that, but I don't know, I just think it's funny. Okay, so that's your MDMA. Let's hang on a second. Let me pull my notes up. Just want to make sure I'm not forgetting something here. Okay, negative effects of MDMA. It can kill you. Okay, so let's not let that happen. What am I doing? Hang on. Share screen. Which one? This one. Oops. Nope, not that one. Sorry. Excellent. Oh, damn it. Damn it, hell. Okay. Negative effects. Sorry about that. I'm still not the best with Zoom here. Acute toxicity because of the sympathomimetic effects. Your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure and your body temperature go up, hyperthermia, right? You can overheat, so you start heating up because of the sympathetic activity, and your hypothalamus doesn't bring you back down. Your blood pressure or your body temperature can go up too fast. A lot of times people drink a lot of water because they're overheating, and you can drink too much water. You can die from drinking too much water. So that's another danger on MDMA. After it's gone away, usually you're depressed because you've used up a lot of your serotonin. Serotonin takes a lot longer to replenish than dopamine or norepinephrine. So usually there's a post-ecstasy depression for a little while. 1 to 2 weeks for totally getting back. So, and again, the thing about overdoses, this is another one of those drugs that takes a long time to come on. So it might take an hour and a half to 2 hours before the effects kick in. So, and because you're buying this on the street, you don't really know what you're getting. You may take one, an hour later, you're not feeling anything. An hour and a half later, you're not feeling anything. Well, that was crap. Let's buy some from somebody else, and you buy another tablet, you take that one. First one kicks in, and the second one kicks in. So that's how people get in trouble with MDMA overdosing. Okay, so that's MDMA. And then our last drug. There's a neat website I have here in the notes. Let's pull this up as long as we have time to kill here. Come on. Oops. So this is a website where if you do get some, it's so hard on a laptop because I don't have enough real estate here to have all the windows open I need to have open. Okay, so here's a website with really up-to-date information. So let's say this is Blue Volcon. So the pills look like this. And if you click in, it should tell you where it was found. So this is when someone in Provo, Utah submitted it to this site, and they analyzed it. And the information comes up November 25th. So what is in this? Ratio amounts. Okay, so these Blue Volcans really are MDMA. Okay, so those are good, and you can get the white or the red Volcom. It's all good stuff. And if you get this blue tablet, which is sold as Xanax, it really is Xanax. That's a good thing. So this is a website where you can send your drugs in and make sure they are what they say they're supposed to be. Here, this one sold as Acorn, whatever that is, 4-acetoxy DMT. So this is one of those designer drugs. It's something new that I've never heard of. So this site is basically, if you're buying these drugs on the street and you don't know what they are, you could send them into this place and they would check it. Oh, here's a good one. White powder sold as cocaine is actually lidocaine. So lidocaine is a sodium channel blocker. It's a local anesthetic. So you might rub some on your gums and you think, oh yeah, this is cocaine. It feels numb, but it's not cocaine. It's just lidocaine. So that's the kind of thing you'll pick up, So here's something sold as MDA, which also has caffeine in it. Here's another designer drug. So anyway, that's what this site is all about. I think that one's kind of cool. Is it legal? Is MDMA legal? No, definitely not. Is this site legal? I don't know. I imagine so. It's been up for quite a while. They haven't shut it down. It's just an analytical lab that you send your drugs to and they test it and then post it. It's kind of a good resource for people because, you know, you're buying stuff on the street, you don't know what it is. So, yeah, but is it legal? I don't know. Good question. So moving on, our last drug is mescaline. Mescalito, you have opened up my eyes. Oh, that was a song by James Taylor a long time ago. I'm looking for, looking for my notes. Hang on. Don't go anywhere. Stop already. Okay, mescaline. So mescaline is an agonist at norepinephrine receptors. So you're definitely getting stimulation from this and increased motor activity. But it's also an agonist at 5-HT2A receptors. So it's like LSD too. So it's, you know, LSD causes some stimulation. This is a lot of stimulation and the entheogenic effects as well. You're getting all the hallucinations that you get with LSD and distortion in time and space, depersonalization, and the spiritual growth. So this is similar to an LSD, but with more stimulation involved with it. So this is something that I don't know how available this one is, but again, it's used in the U.S. Southwest and in Mexico as a as kind of like a spiritual drug. There's a book out that's kind of interesting to read if you ever want to read it. I think I write about it in my book called The Teachings of Don Juan, The Yaqui Way of Knowledge. So it's about this guy who went to visit somewhere in Mexico because he was looking for these drugs, and he met a local healer, and the healer taught him all the drugs that he could use, and he tested them all out. One of them was Datura, which is the antimuscarinic we talked about today, and the other one was this mescaline. So it's a good book. It's really interesting to read. Okay, let me see your faces real quick, because I'm about to go dark for the semester. Okay, people. Who's left? Saksham, Lutra, Sydney. Sydney, you're not going to show your face. Julia. Oh, come on, Julia. Everyone wants to say hello to Julia. There she is. Matt Gamella never wants to show up. Okay. Well, anyway, it's not important. Just want to say, had a wonderful time with you people this semester. Really hate this Zoom format. I really do. It's so much more fun to be there with you. But what are we going to do? You know, we got a vaccine coming out soon. I suggest you all get it. I will get it as soon as I can. And let's see, we've got an exam next week. I had this, did I tell you about this? I can't remember. I've got 3 classes. Yeah, I did tell you guys the exam is going to be Wednesday next week. It'll be open all day. It'll only be open for an hour and 15 minutes, but it'll be open all day. So take your exam next Wednesday. And then, you know, I don't care what you do on the exam. Everybody's getting an A. I don't care. Do you believe that?
Is it okay if we do believe it? It'd be pretty nice.
You know, you can believe
Christmas
anything.
present.
You know, we still have about 55, 60 more days of the Trump administration. You can believe anything you want. It doesn't matter. It's a whole new world. Okay, so that's all I got for you. I'm going to say goodbye. And if you need anything, text me or whatever, and we can get together. But that's it for this class. Thank you very much, people. Read your book.
Thanks, Dr. Swish.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye.